You okay to go, Phil? Okay, Phil.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to welcome everyone to Worcestershire Children First's first annual general meeting, obviously by Zoom this year because obviously of the COVID situation. I'd first like to start with a few housekeeping rules. If everybody else who's on live streaming could keep their camera on off and also their microphones as well. There will be opportunities at the end of the presentations for questions and answers. Before I introduce my board colleagues, I thought it would be appropriate to say a few words given this auspicious occasion. It certainly doesn't seem a year ago that we celebrated the formation of the company and I was cutting a ribbon in County Hall and welcoming a wide range of stakeholders to our launch. This was following 2 years of careful planning by the County Council, and the company was successfully launched a year ago today. We're delighted to share our achievements today during 2019-20, which include recognised service improvements as we build our reputation as a trusted provider and strategic partner across the county and region. With services delivering social care, safeguarding, education and early help under one roof, we strive to address needs holistically to support positive outcomes. We are committed and determined to improve the lives of children and young people as the company grows and evolves. And with teams working closer together, improved communication and coordination between services and all of the children's services sitting with one company, we can deliver our vision for Worcestershire to be a wonderful place for all children and young people to grow up. I would like to pay tribute to all the staff in the company who have worked tirelessly to achieve our progress and success, and our colleagues in the County Council, both members and officers, who have supported us in delivering the common thread of putting children at the heart of everything we do. This is truly a demonstration of the strong partnership between the company and the County Council. Finally, I would like to pay tribute to my board colleagues who have worked tirelessly as well to not only support the company, but the staff in their mission. Thank you to all of you. I'd now like to introduce our board to the audience. First of all, Catherine Driscoll, our Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Catherine Driscoll, Chief Executive of Worcestershire Children First.
Thank you. Tina Russell.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tina Russell. I'm the Director of Children's Social Care and Safeguarding.
Thank you. Phil.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Phil Rook, Director of Resources for Worcestershire Children's First.
County Councillor Marcus Hart.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Councillor Marcus Hart. I'm the Cabinet Member for Education and Skills at the County Council, and I'm a non-executive director.
Thank you. County Councillor Karen May.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Councillor Karen May, the Cabinet Member for Transformation and Commissioning, and also a non-executive director of Worcestershire Children First.
Thank you. Andrew Spice.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Andrew Spice. I'm the Strategic Director of Commercial and Change at the County Council and a non-executive director.
Thank you. Claire Burgess.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Claire Burgess. I'm one of the non-executive directors on the board, and I have a career in children's social care.
Sally Taylor.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sally Taylor. I'm a non-executive director, and I have a career in education.
Thank you. And Gareth Moss.
Good afternoon, everybody. Gareth Moss, Non-Executive Director. My career has been in education and local government finance.
And by process of elimination, I forgot to introduce myself, Rob Morrison, Chair of the Board. Thank you very much. I'd also like to point out that all of the documents we're going to show you today on the PowerPoint presentation are available on our website. But I'd now like to hand over to Catherine, who will commence the presentation. Thank you, Catherine. I'd now like to hand over to Catherine.
Thank you, everybody. So as Rob has said, the annual report is available, and it is quite a strange time for us, really, because we're here today, 1st of October 2020, at the first anniversary of the company launch, but of course we are looking back today. So our annual report for 1920 actually takes us up to the period the end of March. So we're looking back to our first 6 months of operation, but we will end today by talking a little bit about our priorities going forward. So just to start, the company was successfully launched on the 1st of October, and we took over operational responsibility for delivery of children's services on behalf of the County Council. The County Council is our stakeholder for, our shareholder for the company. The launch went really well. We cheaply transferred more than 800 staff, and we were delighted that we didn't see any impact on performance and morale. We'd worked very hard in the previous 2 years to plan that work, and we were lucky last October that we were starting with services that were already demonstrating progress with the improvements needed. We'd seen improvements in previous years, and it all went very well. The Department for Education have said to us consistently how pleased they are with the progress that we've made to the timescale required. So we've talked about our vision, mission and values, and we are going to end today looking at a wonderful piece of art that brings those values to life. We are very clear that those vision, mission and values define and underpin the business. The board leadership plans through to the work with children and families. We put children at the heart of everything that we do. We're very focused on children and young people being happy, healthy and safe in this county. And since we had the transfer on the 1st of October, we've continued the improvement. We've focused on service delivery, and we haven't seen what's happened in other children's companies where there's been an impact on key performance indicators. Our data for Q3 and 4 in 1920 really demonstrates that we are making that achievement. So just want to say a little bit about performance, governance and contract monitoring. It's very important as a company that we are acting ethically, legally, following Company Act requirements and being accountable to the County Council for the service delivery that we are responsible for. You've met the company board this afternoon. There are 11 members of the board, 10 of us here today. Sarah Wilkins sends her apologies, unfortunately. And it's a very strong board with good experience relevant to the work that we are responsible for. Board meetings have been held monthly during the period, and we had our first public board meeting back in February. It will be a regular feature for us, COVID permitting, that we do meet in public periodically during the year. We have 2 sub-boards, a Quality Assurance Board and a Risk Governance and Audit Board that have both met during the period and focused on their areas of responsibility. The Quality Assurance Board has done some deep dive analysis in social care and safeguarding and education and early help. And the risk board has looked at the budget in detail prior to approval to make sure that as a company, we are functioning as a going concern financially. We also report regularly to the council to make sure that we are delivering the requirements, the key performance indicator requirements that we have to deliver. There's a quarterly review board that the council and the Department for Education attend, and we've had very positive discussions about the progress that we've made. We know our relationships with the council are very positive, and staff from the company engage in a range of working groups to make sure that the reporting works well. This includes regular monthly reporting to Children's Scrutiny Panel. I'm just going to pause before I go on and just ask if everybody who is not speaking, could turn their microphones off. Just see if that helps, because there's a little bit of feedback, I think. So anyone who's online not speaking, if they could mute mics, we'll see if that helps. Thank you. So moving on to workforce and culture, just a little breakdown of the staff that we have in our 3 directorates. The directorates are social care and safeguarding, and you can see that 79% of our employed staff are in the social care and safeguarding directorate. Education and early help accounts for 14% of our employed staff, and that looks like quite a significant imbalance, doesn't it? But it's just worth saying that that percentage does not include staff, teaching and non-teaching staff in our maintained schools, where there are 6,438 staff, but they are not directly employed by WCF. And then in Resources Directorate that Phil Rook leads, there are 7% of staff. And clearly, any company, no matter how well planned, no matter how well the TUPE arrangements go, they are only as good as the staff who are employed within the company. And a big focus for us over the first year was to make sure that we recruited good staff, that we supported, trained and developed them, because without permanent committed staff, we wouldn't be able to continue the improvement that we've seen. And at the end of 1920, our social work permanency of staff was running at 85%, which is a significant improvement on the previous year. And a couple of years previously, there were areas of the service where permanent staff was only running at 40%. So a big shift for us. And of course, we need to make sure that our staff feel supported, and we undertake regular health checks so we can listen to what staff are saying to us and respond accordingly. We're focusing on management stability and capacity to make sure that we've got the right support and challenge to do the best for children and families. And certainly our social work team managers are now permanently employed with us. So if we go on to some feedback from the annual health check that I've just talked about. When we look at the end of 1920, you can see 94% of staff feel listened to, 95% of staff feel their managers are visible, approachable and responsive. 88% of social work staff have dedicated supervision that is reflective. 94% of social workers say they understand the vision and values and how they contribute to them. 71% of social workers feel they have a manageable caseload, and 90% of staff say they receive regular information on learning from quality assurance. So we know that staff do great work when the right conditions are in place, and hearing from staff what's important to them will continue to be important for us. Our lowest percentage there is manageable caseload, and that is something that we keep under review constantly, because we need to make sure that staff can cope with the work that's required. So thinking about some of the achievements in 1920, the first 6 months of launch, we know that we've had 3 areas of the company that have been subject to improvement work: social care and safeguarding, SEND and troubled families. All 3 of those areas have made progress, have improved responses. And there are certain examples here of development work that's happened during that 6-month period. SEND feedback from government has been positive. We've launched new initiatives, Edge of Care, Get Safe, and Tina will talk a bit more about those in a moment. And we have had recovery in troubled families beyond expectation by the end of 2019-20. So really good progress. I'm now going to hand over to Tina to get into more detail on social care.
Thank you, Catherine. I really want to take this opportunity just to take people through our quality assurance framework and the programme that we've been delivering in service. This has probably been one of the most positive and the most useful pieces of service improvement work that we've been doing pre-company and certainly during this last 6 months while we've been in company and 12 months. Our quality assurance programme has got 3 key elements. The first element is our key performance indicators. Fairly valuable in isolation. We have over 100 individual key performance indicators that we look at. As a group, when you look at them collectively, they tell a real story about the work that we do and the outcomes that we are achieving for children through that work. So as an example, if we look at our key performance indicators for 19 and 20, we know that children who are subject to social work assessment is 20%, which is lower than the England averages of 23%. Those children who are subject of repeat child protection plans is 18%, which again is lower than the England averages of 21%. And for children who are received into care, go home and then come back in, so repeat episodes of care, was less than 7 children throughout 1920. The fact that we have such low figures on what would be these repeated interventions, repeated assessments, repeated child protection plans, repeated episodes of care, the fact that we have such low numbers of those evidences the quality of the assessment and of the planning that we do when we are having plans in place for children. And what we can see is that if children don't need to come back for another assessment or another period in care or another child protection plan, the work that we have done with those children when they leave our services is being sustained positively. And that will be through the support of early help and some targeted family support and our partners and the voluntary sector out in the community as well. So that's an example of how taking a group of key performance indicators together can show you the difference that we're making to the lives of children. The second element of our quality assurance framework is our service user feedback. So this is probably the most significant new development that we've been working on within our quality assurance framework. So actually going out and asking children, young people and their parents how they have experienced our services. To do this, we have used surveys, we used telephone calls, we've used direct interviews, and all of this gives us an immense amount of qualitative and quantitative information to understand how our services are being experienced, and all within the context of knowing the difference we're making. And we also use our compliments and our complaints processes to do this. So in 2019-20, we had 718 different children and young people that gave us direct feedback through one of these mechanisms. When we asked the question to children, young people and parents, did having a social worker make a positive difference to your life, 83% of people said yes, it did. Now that's a really, really good figure, but it's also a particularly good figure for our 1920 annual report, because we achieved that at only 73% the year before. So we're getting better and better at getting that feedback that people feel that the services they're receiving is making a positive difference. And that's important as well to remember, that the services we deliver are children in need, but they're children in need of support, care and protection. So these are services to families who are very often in crisis, and very often families who haven't sought the intervention of us as a statutory service. So to get that level of positive feedback, that when we have intervened, we've been able to bridge that gap of their fear and anxiety, perhaps defensiveness about us being involved in the first place, is a really, really good achievement. Our compliments and our complaints, as I say, we work with those, and we've done a lot of work in service to make sure that we are understanding what we've not been doing well and what we have been doing well. The compliments, I see pretty much most of the compliments, but what's been most satisfying for me through this last year is to see not just that we are receiving more compliments, but to see and understand the context of those compliments. So whilst all compliments are important, we have seen as a company growing from some of the perhaps important but more basic compliments about timeliness and about getting information out and responding to people, to a real growth in-depth expression of gratitude and satisfaction and thanks from children, young people, and our partners for the work that we're doing for children. And actually in 2019-20, 65% of our compliments were about the quality of engagement with children and families. And they've come from a range of people, from children, young people and parents directly, from judges within our court care system, from foster carers, as well as our other partners. So I just wanted to read you two of those compliments. One compliment came from a parent, and it said, "I wanted to take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to both of you. You have been supporting us through a very challenging time, and it felt as though we were losing our son. You have been amazing and always there when we need you. The support you have provided to us as parents and to our son as a teenager has been superb. Even when things have been going wrong and he wouldn't cooperate, you still persevered and you managed to get through to him. You didn't let him off the hook, and you supported him in making wise decisions." And a second compliment of this nature came from one of our family court judges. She said, "It was refreshing to hear the social worker talk about the children in the way that he did. I was impressed with the social worker's evidence. He was clearly child-focused and balanced. The children are very lucky to have him as their social worker." And she went on to say, "Don't ever give up being a social worker. You are brilliant, and you have been a huge support to these children." The third element of that makes up our full quality assurance framework is audit. And we do full case file audits, we do midway audits as part of children in care plans, and we do targeted audits on specific areas of service that we're delivering, all with a view to try and understand the quality. In 1920, we completed 420 different pieces of audit activity that meant that we reviewed 616 children's casework. For the full case file audits that we did, 20% of those case file audits were graded as good. And we are always challenging ourselves on what good looks like, and making sure that where we've got requires improvements, we identify learning. And each quarter, we have an in-depth report that takes us through what we're doing well, what we're not doing so well, That gets fed back not only to the individual workers at the time of the audit, but also to the teams and the services through our leadership team of team managers and conference chairs, IROs, group managers and assistant directors. Some of the headlines in terms of what our audits are telling us we're doing well at is hearing the voice of children and the quality of our direct work with them. Our assessments, making sure that they look at the history as well as the presenting concern, so that we get a real full picture of need and risk when we're making decisions about the intervention that we need to make. And we've introduced our signs of safety model, and our audits and our information from our partners and families tells us that that's going really, really well in terms of a consistent way of working and language that we're using. What we need to get better at is making sure that our plans for children are reflecting some of the concerns and issues that have been identified in those really good quality assessments and from what the children are telling us. And we also need to get better at making sure that when we review those plans, we're not just updating information, sharing updates about what's happened within that period of time, but we're actually reviewing the plan and the targets and for outcomes that have been set for children within those plans. There's obviously more in terms of what we are doing well and what we're better at, but this was just a short overview, which I hope has given you really an insight into what we mean when we say we've got a quality assurance programme in place. It's a real in-depth programme that covers the breadth of our services and is what helps us know ourselves well and really understand the difference that we're making to the lives of children. Back to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Tina. And as Sarah Wilkins is not able to be here today, I'm going to do my best to do justice to the work that she leads in special educational needs and disability, SEND. And following on from what Tina's said, it is really worth just spending a short time reflecting on the experiences of children and families of having an improved assessment and planning process for SEND. I've talked earlier about the progress in SEND. Our timeliness of completing the assessment has improved significantly. We're now meeting statutory timescales for this. This is really good news and is credit actually to the investment that the County Council gave to the SEN service pre-company launch. We're now showing that investment was the right thing to do, along with our unwavering focus on effectiveness, making sure that we are doing the right thing for children and families. So in our AGM report that you can see on the website, you can read about the improvement together with detail of other activity in education and early help. Improvement for SEND is a key focus for us to make sure that children with additional needs get the education that they deserve. We focused a lot in 2019 on the graduated response for children. We have a range of children with a range of needs in the county. Some of those children will receive great education in mainstream schools, some in special schools. And the graduated response sets out the kind of support that children can expect to meet their needs, whichever setting that they're in. So we worked very hard with Families in Partnership, really important to us to co-produce the work with parents so that we can have a friendly, accessible version, understanding what is available to parents. This is on our website, sets out what families can expect and the support that their children will have. So the question then for us is, what difference does this make? Schools and early years settings are clear about their responsibilities since the publication of that detailed guidance at the start of October 2019. And we've co-produced a guide to that with parents so that everyone's clear about responsibilities. And in terms of some feedback, a little quote from a parent says, "My son is on the SEND register at school and supported well so far. overall, we are pleased with how our son is treated when it comes to his SEN. I'm fortunate to have a very supportive school environment for my child, and that is great. And what we want and what we are continuing to work with is that every child with SEND in the county gets that support that's appropriate. Now, Ofsted inspected 52 schools between September 19 and March 20, and they were focusing very significantly during those inspections on the way children with SEN were included, how they achieved and how they were supported. And in 47 of those 52 inspections, there was positive feedback from Ofsted, which is really demonstrating to us that the confidence, capability and commitment of mainstream schools is improving in creating that supportive learning environment for children. So more focus on that in the coming year, but really good progress so far. Now, just a few words about the education healthcare needs assessment process. This is an area of work that's improved significantly and has been sustained in 2019 and 2020. All assessments achieved within 20 weeks, that's the national timescale. So parents know 20 weeks is still a long time, but obviously it's time to make sure that the assessment is thoroughly completed. So what does that mean for the child and the family? So the focus for us is making sure that the assessment accurately reflects the needs of the child. It doesn't need to be prolonged, because if the longer you take, the more likely the assessment is to be out of date by the time the plan is finished. The assessment works with those who know the child best. For instance, the class teacher. They're the people who contribute to the assessment, given that most assessments tend to be asked for during an academic year. Parents understand when they can receive key decisions, and advice provided by professional staff will be provided sooner. So another quote from a parent: "Once the local authority were involved, the process was smooth. I was impressed by the timescales." So that's a significant progress. Parents were not saying that to the SEN service 2 years ago. Our timescales were much longer than that. So we're really pleased with that progress. Of course, the next focus for us is to make sure that those assessments are of good quality. Doing them in time is important, but they also need to be good quality. So we've created a multi-agency quality assurance framework. The people involved in that are staff from schools, parents and professionals, looking at a sample of plans on a regular basis and rating the quality. The framework audits the quality and timeliness and looks at learning plans and outcomes. We are later on in the quality assurance progress for education, health and care plans than we are for social care, as Tina's just described. But the great thing of that is being able to take the learning from the social care quality assurance programme and build that into the work that we are doing. So we're making really good progress, but we know we've got more to do. And a little quote from another parent is: "Please reward your staff that do listen, as there are some who do. Please pass on my comments to the SEN worker in the team, a great asset to your team. Things look to be improving and staff appear to align in mindset more with parent carers than previously." So that's a sign of progress. Of course, the ambition for us is to make sure that all of our staff listen, not some of them. The living our values is making sure that we are putting children and young people at the heart of all of the work that we do. And I just want to finish this part by talking about the SEND improvement programme that we've been working on for the last 18 months, 2 years. And the Department for Education and NHS England reviewed that programme, and they were a little bit nervous in the run-up to company launch last summer and autumn. They'd looked at what had happened elsewhere in the country with other companies set up, and they were a bit nervous that the progress that was being made would slip back. We were very clear that we'd got a good improvement programme, we'd got clear, consistent leadership, and that we would not allow anything to slip back. And the DFE have said to us, previous concerns about the continuity of effort across both organisational change and personnel change in key lead roles in SEND have been considerably assuaged by the visit that they took last autumn. And certainly at last Thursday's SEND Improvement Board, both NHS England and the Department for Education were very complimentary about the progress and have asked permission to share the work that we are doing with other areas because they see that work as an example of good practice. So we know we've got more work to do, but we are very pleased with the progress so far, and we will continue to drive improvements for our children with SEND in the county.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. I'm just going to go on and talk through the financial statements for the year ending 31st of March 2020. Worcester Children First is a separate legal entity, but it's owned and controlled by Worcestershire County Council. So this is the first year that we've done our accounts. The activity is up to the 30, and it's only for 6 months, so to the 31st of March 2020. Our financial statements have to be prepared under Financial Reporting Standard 102 and in compliance with the Company Act. So that is different from what is undertaken within the local authorities. So a new task for us to do that with our own separate financial systems and separate processes underway in terms of that. We have a final audit that took place on the 29th of April by Grant Thornton, and it had to take place virtually due to the coronavirus. So obviously a lot of activity on company setup, our processes, our procedures, and how we do things within the company. So a lot of work and that went through. Their opinion on those accounts is an unqualified opinion, which is a clean bill of health. So there was no issues. There was no issues on control, no issues about the numbers within the financial statements. These annual financial statements were approved by the board on the 28th of July, but during that process went through audit committee, and the accounts are on the website and then were sent through to Companies House in terms of compliance. A bit about the 6 months. So our turnover was 55.3 million, which is primarily, almost all of that comes from the contract with Worcestershire County Council, and our expenditure was 54.7 million. So we had a small surplus, which was being transferred to our retained earnings. So for us, that from my perspective, that's really well managed, given that over half of our expenditure is demand-led budgets. So that's a good, solid return for the first 6 months. Worcester Children's First hold no fixed assets, so we occupy space in County Hall, some of our children's homes, but they're not on the balance sheet. We do purchase support services from the County Council, so that's IT, some HR services. So in terms of that, so we've got that close relationship with the council. Our cash position was healthy all the way during the year, given where we were in terms of that. That's a real issue that the auditors look at in terms of our going concern, which is not an issue. And our financial statements have to be consolidated into Worcestershire County Council group financial statements. So this is the first time that the County Council has to do that as well. So that's gone well for them as well. And their audit and governance committee meet tomorrow to look at that, and there's no issues on that point of thing. In terms of WCF, we don't have a pension deficit on our balance sheet, because we just have a pay-as-you-go pension scheme. So we pay from the 1st of October, and that's been all set out, and our contributions are set by the actuary over the 3 years. It was 15.2% in 1920 and 18.6% for the period going forward. The chart on the slide there just shows you the split of services for our net expenditure in 1920. So you can see primarily the most of the expenditure on social care and safeguarding, as you would expect. Some of the other areas, home to school transport, and then you've got education, early help, resources director and support services, with the county council, so that we pay for those services, as I mentioned earlier. In terms of what we need to do, we've had during the company setup, we took a process to look through in terms of external auditors. So we had a mini process, and we selected Grant Thornton. They are appointed for the first year by the board to be our external auditors. One of the benefits of having them, they've got a separate engagement partner, so they're independent from the council, but we use the same financial systems as the council, and some of the same processes. So in terms of value for money and their assurance work, that helps the audit price, and in terms of that helps some understanding of both sides of the entity. So that is a benefit. And they've built some really good knowledge of the company going forward. So from our proposal is to continue to use those for 21-22.
Thank you for that, Phil, and Tina and Catherine as well for your contributions. Before we, I take it there are no objections to us appointing Grant Thornton as our auditors for the coming year.
No.
No, I thank you very much indeed for that. What I'd also like to do is to thank everybody for presenting the annual report. But this is also an opportunity, as it is a public meeting. Obviously, we've got live streaming, and we have got some colleagues who've joined us. This is an opportunity at this point to actually, for anybody in our live streaming audience, to ask a question. So I don't know if anybody, if they want to ask a question, if they can turn their video on first, and then their microphone, and please feel free to ask a question. If nobody turns their video on, I'm assuming that nobody wishes to ask a question at this point or make any comments. As I say, the full report and the accounts are all on our website, and the officers today have given a very good brief overview, but there is a full report with a lot more detail on the website as well. Catherine, do you want to make a comment? No. Okay. If there's no questions of our annual report, can we please, in the normal manner, we've adopted it already at the board. Obviously, this is a public meeting, so we will confirm the adoption of the annual report and the accounts. Moving on, there is one more item. It's on my agenda here. It's called any other competent business, and I think there's one other item which is down to me. So Phil, I think if you can move the slides. Other than, did you want to comment on the priorities for 2021, Catherine? Slide 15. One other item which is down to me. So Phil, if you can move the slides. Other than, did you want to comment on the priorities for 2021?
Yes, thank you, Rob. Apologies for feedback. Just a few words about where we are this year. Our business plan on the website sets out our priorities, approved by Cabinet, and has been revised as a result of COVID-19. We have absolutely responded to the pandemic in an excellent way. We've been performing above regional and national averages, both in social care and in education. And we've also welcomed staff into the company. We had a successful GP transfer of learning and achievement staff in June this year. And today we welcome staff, early intervention family support staff, from Continue into the company. That enables us to have a single focus on children, young people and their families. And today we have published and submitted to the DfE a full joint report on the first full year of the company's operation, which has been successful. So thank you, Chairman, and back to you.
Yes. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, and some good news as well going forward into into the current, I think, very challenging year. It's probably an understatement, really, but it's a very challenging year given the COVID scenario. The last item for me as chairman, and I'm very honoured to present this, is a piece of artwork to mark our first anniversary as WCF. This was coordinated by a local artist, Megan Evans, who brought together the artistic skills of a broad range of children from across Worcestershire to produce a collaborative piece that reflected our company's vision, mission and values. As I said, the process involved working with a number of schools in Worcestershire pre-COVID lockdown to produce a series of holograph prints using items of litter collected by the children. The artwork features a combination of printmaking, painting and line work, and all of the prints produced by the children are featured in the finished artwork and labelled with the children's names, which I think as board members, and I'm sure this is available to the public as well, we've seen on a YouTube video, so you can actually see the child's Christian name on their particular contribution. As mentioned here, the contributing schools were Alf Church, Church of England Middle School, the Chantry School, French Community Primary School, Prince Henry's High School in Evesham, and the Chadsgrove School in Bromsgrove. I've also got on another list the Forge Secondary Short Stay School at Redditch, and Who Cares We Care, Worcestershire's Children in Care Council. So it gives me a great honour to unveil this new artwork, an impressive display of the skills and imagination, of course, of the children who collaborated on this holograph. So Phil, could you unveil the piece of artwork? Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. There being no other items of business identified to me as chair, I would therefore like to formally close this first AGM of Worcestershire Children First, and certainly look forward to, I think, a report next year which shows more progress on achieving our aims and objectives. So thanks so much indeed, everybody, for contributing today to the AGM and attending, and also thanks to our live stream audience for joining us on this, our first AGM. I would therefore now like to close the meeting, and I assume, Phil, you will close us down on Zoom and also the live streaming as well.